Is it a mistake to scrap jury trials for all but the most serious crimes? Get your calls in now. Let me know what you think. This morning, the Justice Secretary has confirmed he will limit the right to jury to only the most serious offences such as murder, manslaughter and rape. David Lammy has said the move is necessary to tackle record-high backlog of cases which is causing a growing number of victims to be giving up on seeking justice. Let's see what he has to say.
If anyone is raped today in our country, it will be 2028, 2029 in some cases until that case comes on. That is too long to wait, and that is why people are dropping out or not pursuing justice. You steal an iPhone this afternoon from Curry's. Should you be able to opt to have a jury? The trial may take 2 days, and inevitably that will cause further delay for more serious and egregious crimes like rape or murder. So that's the question that I've been looking at, and that's what I'll be announcing later on today.
Now, he has said juries will remain fundamental to those more serious cases, but it will mean that judges will be solely responsible for a large amount of trials, and critics are saying that the move will get rid of this 800-year-old tradition of giving everyone the right to a trial by jury of their peers. Paula, I'm going to come to you on this first because this is your field.
Yes.
I think it's 80,000 cases are still waiting to be. That's the backlog.
In Crown Courts, that's right.
It's estimated to go up to 100,000. Currently, how many cases actually do get heard by a jury? Aren't most cases decided by judges anyway?
Well, this is what's really interesting, because we've got this concern, this very large concern about getting rid of jury trials. But the reality is most of the criminal cases that are dealt with are already dealt with by a magistrate. So it might be 3 lay members or it might be 1 judge sitting on their own. We only have approximately 3% of total criminal cases that are ultimately considered by a jury. When you think of the amount of cases that go through the courts, you would assume that it was more. And, let's think about what it is we're talking about here. As a society, what is it that we want in terms of justice? As a survivor of crime, what is it that we are saying we want in terms of justice? As a person who is accused of committing a crime and you're professing your innocence, what is it that you are saying you want in terms of justice? You want a system that is effective and that is swift in ensuring that justice. We do not have that system. And we are being told very clearly by Sir Brian Leveson, who is the retired judge who was undertaking the assessment of what is going on in our criminal courts and justice system. He has told us we need to effect drastic change. So whilst, yes, we have the Magna Carta of 1215 and 800 years of history where we have jury trials, the Magna Carta also tells us that, of course, it's about applying the law of the land. And we have had a criminal justice system that has changed over time. We don't have, for example, jury trials anymore in civil proceedings. We used to do that. So I don't want people to be shocked or surprised at something that actually was on its way in any event.
OK, so just before I come to you, Cristo, just so we understand it, what he's saying now is that if you've swiped, in fact, this is the example he's been using in his media round this morning. If you swiped a phone from a store in the high street and you've been caught and there's CCTV footage and you go to court, you should not have the right to say, well, actually, I don't want to be judged by a magistrate. I want a jury trial for that. He's saying that that is a waste of time, that actually, I don't know what the technical name is for those cases.
Either way offences.
Either way offences,
that's right.
That actually you shouldn't have the right to request a jury trial. Cristo, do you disagree with that?
Yeah, I do disagree with that.
Why?
Because I think that I accept your point about the fact that there are many, many cases that don't make it to needing a jury at the moment. But that is, some of them come from a choice that people make. They're given the choice. Do you want a jury or do you not? And they choose not to. I'm really worried about that choice being taken away from people, because there may be circumstances that would be put in front of a jury that would be that they would want to have put in front of a jury over a judge, firstly. Secondly, we have seen that judges sometimes make mistakes, either when it comes to sentencing, where they need to be reviewed again. We've seen again, and I know sometimes the media reports go a bit hysterical on this, but sometimes we've seen judges as well look at some of the immigration cases where they've said, there's the famous one about chicken nuggets, or that someone has the right to a family life after they've committed a sort of a heinous crime so they don't get deported. Those are judges' decisions. So sometimes judges don't always get it right, and it needs to go then to appeal. That would be something that would worry me. Thirdly, the idea that this would be the slow march. We start with this, and then actually then do we expand that to other crimes because we've started it with this sort of thing. So that would be a worry. But finally, the solution is not to get rid of jury trials. The solution to this is actually to investigate crimes quicker and to put resources into the system. That would actually get us justice more swiftly, rather than, because at the moment we're saying, look, people aren't reporting crimes because they're not getting justice quickly enough. They're not reporting crimes because they're not being investigated, and they've got no faith in the system anymore.
And justice delayed is justice denied. We should also mention, and Paula, again, I feel that, you know way more than about this than all of us here. But again, the size of these trials have expanded because of the added evidence that you can compile. All of a sudden, it's not we heard somebody say, relying on witnesses. Now you've got catalogues of messages, of phones, emails, calls from all the people involved. That takes time, and time is expensive for court.
And one of the reasons put forward as well is, look, sometimes cases are quite complicated, and it's easier that a judge can sift through that. But I think if that is a failure of a case being explained, because actually any case going to court, I should, as a layman, be able to follow that case and be able to make a decision about it.
I want to come back to that and see what Paula makes of that. But let's hear from Angela, who's waiting to speak to us in Manchester. Now, Angela, I believe you're going through the justice system at the moment. I would urge you just to be economical with any facts, as you, from what I understand, you're involved in an ongoing case. So, Angela, welcome. What would you like to say?
So I would say that from our experience, we have never been involved with the law at all as a family.
Yeah.
So it's all been a bit of a surprise to us. But so this incident happened 3 years ago. So my son has had this hanging over him for 3 years. Within that 3 years, he probably went to court maybe 3 or 4 times for pre-trials and going to the magistrates, this, that and the other. So every single time he's had to have a barrister with him. At the start of this process, he was given legal aid, but because he works, he had a massive bill towards that. So every time he goes to court, he has to pay the barrister more or less. Unless he gets found innocent, then he gets it back. So there's that side of it. But every time that they've been to court, there's a few trials arranged for the same time.
Yeah, for the same day.
No, not for the same day, for the same time.
The same exact time?
Yeah, so you've got like 11 o'clock in the morning.
A trial
you've
window.
Got like,
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you might have 4 people waiting. So all that time people are sat around. Then there's a pre-trial hearing. So this time when we went to court, it was like maybe the week before that he was meant to be having the trial. So obviously we're very stressed about everything. And the week before he went, and they said, right, the court date's set for next week. All go ahead. Is everyone okay with that? Is everyone ready for it? Talking to the barristers and so on. Everyone says, yeah. In my opinion, I don't know why that's needed, because surely they can do that on an email. Are you ready? Yeah. 2 days before the trial, we get a notification that the trial's now been cancelled due to court space.
Right.
So, and now it's been put back another 2 years. So he's now been waiting 5 years.
Angela, would you support getting rid of jury trials?
No, I wouldn't. I want my son to have a jury. I think that's the only...
Even though
way.
it's now, you've said 3 years ago, it might be 5 years before he gets his...
5 years, and even then they could cancel it. What I would say is they need a time limit on how long they can have this hanging over people's heads for a start.
But if taking away the jury trial element of this, and again, we don't know and we don't want to discuss the specifics of your son, but if they took away the jury element and it meant that he could get justice quicker, he could get a decision quicker.
I don't have faith that he would get justice. In this experience, my faith in the justice system.
I can hear that. I can hear that. Angela, thank you for kicking us off. I'm only moving on because there's quite a few people who want to speak to us. Thank you, Angela. Tony's in Suffolk. Tony, welcome to the show. Would you support getting rid of jury trials in all but the most serious cases? Remember, manslaughter, murder, rape, they would still get jury trials.
No, definitely not. Everybody, doesn't matter what creed, race, colour they are, deserves a trial by jury. I've been a witness in a court, a county court, right? I was one of the star witnesses, and the actual jury got it wrong. But I still say they need to have that jury, to have one person on his own opinion thinking that he knows if it's guilty or not guilty.
Okay, Tony, I'm just going to interrupt you there. There are suggestions, and I want to hear what you think about this. There are suggestions that what Justice Leveson had said, that it could be a judge assisted by two
lay members.
That's right.
So
you're having an element, an outside element that would be with the judge.
That's right.
What do you think of what Tony's saying, and what we kind of tend to hear, that people have this, and Cristo mentioned this, this justice, I'm going to be judged by 12 members of my peers, people who can come from completely different backgrounds, different ethnicities, ethnic backgrounds, if you like, social backgrounds, socioeconomic.
Yeah.
Judges tend to be very similar from their backgrounds. So what do you make of Tony's concerns there?
Totally understand Tony's concerns. And let me explain this to you. My position in around supporting what Justice Leveson says in about finding a new and improved justice system is ultimately about survivors of crime. And one of the criteria that you just, recommendations that you've just referenced is about having a judge who will sit with two lay members. Now, interestingly, David Lammy has not accepted that as a recommendation. Yeah. It seems, so we're being told, and David Lammy just wants to go down the road of a single judge. I'm with Leveson, and I think that would hopefully ameliorate any concerns that Tony and others like Tony would have about still having those important lay members sat on either side of the legal expert, so to speak.
Okay, I still don't know whether that's enough. Would two people who work in conjunction with a judge who is, going to be a very educated person, who is going to be very, perhaps potentially come from a very different background to them, have the confidence to say to a judge, sorry, no, I think you're wrong in what you're saying here.
Well,
I disagree.
And it happens
that's 12
now.
of them.
It does happen now.
That's a far greater number than just two.
Tony, thank you. You make a very good point. Jill's in Cornwall. Jill, welcome to the show. What are your thoughts? Should we be getting rid of trial by jury?
No, definitely not. I must be honest, I can't go into things or anything like that, but I've sat on a jury twice, would you believe, over the years. And I feel that because I really have lost faith in the justice system, I don't feel that it's as good as it was a few years back. I feel there's lots of things that are wrong with the justice system now, and to leave the situation down to just one person to decide if someone is, I think is wrong. I think that a jury will sit down and talk over a situation, talk over the points. You have different views, different types of people, and sometimes the things that they come out with and find and vote on are things that maybe...
Okay, but Jill, let me ask you this. There's CCTV footage, someone's stolen a phone, has walked out of the shop, they got arrested, they've been brought to trial. Do we really need to assemble 12 people to decide whether this person's guilty or not?
Well, that's the justice system. That is how it should be. That's how it should be. I feel that I feel that 12 people sat listening to a case. I would have more faith in them deciding on whether or not someone was genuinely guilty, rather than the justice system as it is at the moment. Because I'm losing faith in how the justice system works at present.
All right, Jill, you made that point. Thank you. Let's hear from Kim, who's in Bristol. Kim, welcome to the show. What are your thoughts? Do you think that in all but the most serious cases, we could do away with 12 people leaving their jobs, sometimes having to leave their families, to sit in a courtroom where actually perhaps they're not really needed?
I think it would be a massive mistake, really bad, to get rid of juries. There's so many variables involved in one person making a judgment. I mean, the whole system does need to overhaul. There have been massive inequalities. I'll give you an example. In Bristol, there was a guy who set fire to a boatyard. Now, he got life in prison, and yet I read about a driver who killed a motorcyclist and got 7 years.
Well, we don't know the specifics of the case, Kim. It's very difficult to sort of make that call, but thank you for your call. Paul, I wonder, are you worried about what you were hearing? Because a lot of people are basically saying, no, we want juries because we don't trust the legal system.
Yeah.
So people like yourself, judges who've spent a lifetime studying the law and understanding it, are not being trusted.
Yeah, and you know what? I wish I could have asked Jill, because notice that Jill had said it was over the number of years that she'd sat twice as a juror, and over the number of years she'd lost faith in the justice system. I find that really disappointing. And I don't know if Jill had been a survivor of crime. So obviously I represent survivors of crime. And yes, I see their sadness. And that is actually why I'm thinking, OK, what can I do about this? How can I change things to ensure that that they see justice as soon as possible? And so to hear all of this negativity about a system that is supposed to be there, it's one of the pillars of society. And yet there is just no faith in it.
But I think it's about justice being done, but also about being seen to be done. And I think part of having a jury is about it being seen to be done. And I thought one of your callers made...
We don't see the jury at all.
Remember, it's only three...
We don't know anything about the jury. That is all very secret.
Seen to being done, I don't mean physically seen. I mean seen as in the process, being seen as credible and reliable. And just very quickly, I thought one of your callers made a brilliant point earlier. I think it was Angela who said that there are loads of other ways that the system could be sped up, about pre-trials, about making sure everyone's ready, about using
about the emails.
If those had been explored and then they still said juries, I would have a bit more sympathy.
We're talking about courts being open for longer and actually listening to cases for longer. There's a lot more there that can be done. You're absolutely right. Let's take another quick call from Janice. Janice is in Essex. Welcome to the show. Janice, what would you like to say?
Hi guys, thank you for taking my call. Paula, you've just hit my 4 favourite women list. I think this is an absolute slippery slope. I think if it could be small little misdemeanours, car parking fines and nicking a phone or so, but we know it's not going to be that. They're going to control us. They're taking away our democracy. This is the Magna Carta they're taking away from us. We have a right to be tried by a jury. And if they'll go down the road where it'll be little things in the beginning and then they'll ramp it up. But when they can open up other courts, they can get more people in,
Janice,
and they can do it that way.
But Janice, do you understand we don't have a right to a trial by jury? We don't have a right to that.
Understand.
What the Magna Carta...
I understand that.
Yes. So, that's something that we need to be clear about. And so if you're clear that actually we don't have a right to a jury trial, we have a choice in some cases to whether we have a jury trial or not, but we don't have an automatic right or, a complete right. Janice, surely what we want to ensure is that survivors of crime get to see justice done as swiftly as possible in a fair way as possible.
Janice, thank you. We've run out of time for this one, but thank you, Paula. It's been really good to have you here, of course, because of your expertise. And thank you for your calls and your messages on this.